okay, I buy a property below market value and I rent it out, and then I make money every single month. When the prices go up, I refinance it and I pull some money out and I buy another one, right? And then when I run out of cash, I then go to my network where I'm able to raise money and partner with people, and then we buy property as business partners. So
welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real Estate. Today, we have the pleasure of hosting John Lee. John is an internationally renowned entrepreneur, investor, mentor, speaker, and best-selling author. Over the last 2 decades, John has been generating wealth through multiple streams of income and is highly passionate about helping others do the same. John's ultimate mission is to transform lives by teaching people how to create financial freedom while building notable businesses and brands. John, welcome to the show.
hey, Dan, thank you so much for having me. It's incredible. I love the work that you're doing and the lives that you're impacting just by having these conversations. So I'm happy to really share some incredible insights to really make that impact.
Awesome. Well, maybe let's start in the beginning. Take us back to the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey. What was the pivotal moment for you, or what made it start?
My background is I used to be a computer animator. So I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and my best friend Darren gave that to me for my birthday. And I read it and I couldn't understand why they didn't teach this in school, that you could buy assets that will replace your income so you don't have to work. And I was like, oh my God, this became one of my aha moments. And so for me, I really wanted to embark along that journey of really having that self-education. You know what they say, Dan? They always say that formal education makes you a living, but self-education makes you a fortune. Really, for me, when I was working as an animator, I got so good at my job, then we had office politics where, my boss would, kind of bully me out of this role. And so I ended up getting fired from the job. And I remember walking out of that building saying to myself, I'm never going to let anyone point their finger at me and say that you're fired again. So I started to take life into my own hands, and hence my whole journey of this entrepreneurship, self-education.
Cool. Wow. So one thing you just said right there, I think is worth repeating, is formal education makes you a living, self-education makes you a fortune. I heard that, I think, by Jim Rohn years ago, and I love that you just repeated it. So as far as creating multiple streams of income, how are you creating multiple streams of income in your life and for others?
So you got to look at where the market is right now. So the best and easiest way to do this, if you look at a business, you've got to buy live things, you've got to be able to get to a point where you're investing into the business. But the challenge with that is they're not able to get a business off the ground. So for me, it's looking at where the least path of resistance is. And so online, real estate, and anything you put your money into that's going to give you an ROI, return on investment. And a lot of people, they waste a lot of money and they're not investing the money. So I'm always looking for things to invest in, like putting money into stocks or shares or businesses or real estate, or more importantly, into yourself. So you get to learn this new knowledge so you're able to execute more. Because when you have the knowledge, Dan, you have the execution that comes with that. And a lot of people are just not trying, and they're kind of doing enough just to get by. And by having the knowledge and learning these new strategies, and especially AI, artificial intelligence, everyone now can go to ChatGPT and become a copywriter for somebody else within a few clicks. What people used to pay £100,000 for, now you can literally do in 5 minutes and get paid $1,000 to do that. So now if people are watching this, they can do this on the side, they can do this as a startup, or they can do this as a scale up. So the easiest way that I'm investing right now in creating passive income is membership sites are really good. Passive income from real estate is really good. I mean, my properties in London are getting £1,000 per week rental. £1,000 per week. This is central London. So it's able to find these assets and invest in them, and then have that return on investment and passive income to you.
Yeah. So you said get educated. That was really a way to invest your money. What ways would you say, or what's the best way you got knowledgeable, let's just say, in how to invest in real estate, how to go out and acquire a property like you have in London where it's paying you £1,000 a week? Like, what did you do to get to that level?
It's all about the education. So there's 3 lessons of the last 20 years that I've learned in real estate. Number one is You make money when you buy, not when you sell. A lot of people buy at market value, refurbish it and make it look nice and sell it above the market value. So in today's climate, it's not so easy to sell properties now because it's now become a buyer's market. People can't really sell, especially here in the UK. You've got tax situation right now, interest rates going up. And the issue is that a lot of people are not able to offload. And plus there's now new regulations where people rent your property and you can't really kick them out now. And of course, if they're not paying you, then you have certain rights, but sometimes you just want your property back for other reasons. So a lot of people now, especially landlords, are stuck in the issue of not being able to offload. Okay, how do you, number one, get deal flow? Right? It's getting access to the right deals. Like someone said to me, John, there's no way you can buy property in central London, zone 1, below its market value. It's not impossible, because if you look for it, you'll find it. And of course I did. And I bought that at 20% below market value. So there are always situations or motivated sellers that are looking to sell the property. So my first lesson I learned is find the motivated sellers. Don't go to the agents. Always create the network of agents that become your friends. That's the difference. And so one of the strategies that I used is I said, look, if you sell the property to me, I'll use you to also rent the property out. So they get the commission for the sale, and now they get their 7 to 10% for the rentals every single month. So it's a win-win for them. So as long as you can know what's a win for them and what's a win for you, and as long as they understand your criteria, and a lot of people don't do this enough, Dan, they don't have strategic alliances. Strategic alliances, today I went out to have a pizza with my daughter, right? She loves the middle part of the pizza. I don't like the middle bit. I always love the crust of the pizza. So that's a strategic alliance. When you have a pizza, the person who eats the crust and the person who eats the meat of the pizza, that's the type of relationship that you want to build. And so for the agents, I say, look, I've got a lot of deals where people don't want to sell to me 20% below market value. I'll give them to you. In exchange, I want you to give me the deals that have to complete by a specific date. Dan, over the last 20 years has allowed me to create and build a multi-million-pound property portfolio just by using that one little strategy.
Something I heard you say that goes quick, but I just want to recap on it, is a belief that you have, John, which was there's always motivated sellers. That's your belief. And if that's your belief, that's what you're going to go find. And I think that's this important piece to pick up on is if you have that belief, you're going to start seeing it. The other piece you said there that I thought was really interesting is finding strategic alliances. One thing I see how that relates to us in real estate and multifamily is you're the one willing to go find the deals, put the deals together, do all the work. You've got investors who want to be investors in these deals, but they don't want to do the day-to-day operations because it's a lot and it's not the most fun and sexy work. So the strategic alliance is you partner with somebody like that. What would be a strategic alliance that you have, John? And you said you're in the UK, is that right?
Correct.
Are you owning single family or multifamily over there, or what's your asset class?
No, so for me, I keep it really simple, bog standard, residential, professionals. Because professionals in London, I mean, these guys are on like 50K, 100K, and $250,000 salaries. They can afford to pay $1,000 a week. So that's why it's important to buy in the right location as well. I mean, I've bought properties in interesting locations that have lost me money. And one of the things I've learned in the last 20 years is take the time to find the deal, because it only takes that 1 or 2 deals in that specific area. You can make a lot of money from it. So let's come back to strategic alliance. There's really 3 types. Number 1, people who are time rich. They got a lot of time, right? So they don't have restrictions with jobs and things. They've got a lot of time. Second is cash rich. They've got a lot of cash, but they don't have time. And the third is knowledge rich. So you can find one of these 3 people. So for example, I travel all around the world and I give, keynote speeches and talking about specific things that I do. And I'll always get people reach out to me and say, hey, John, I've got £1 million in the bank. Can you and I joint venture together and can we buy a property together? And they'll say, next time you find a deal, let me know. What I do is I say, okay, I've got an incredible deal here, right? This is what the market value, this is what it got surveyed and valued at. This is what all the property sold for in the last 6 months. And this is how much I'm buying it for. So let's say it's worth $1 million, right? Dan, you come to me, say, John, I've got $1 million in the bank right now. It's not making any money. Can you and I become business partners and we partner together? And of course, it depends where you are in the world, because obviously accepting money and making sure people are accredited investors and people who partner with you, they also have the risk appetite as well. So you come to me, you say, hey, John, I've got £1 million in the bank. You say, John, this property that you're presenting to me is worth $1 million, but you're buying it for 800,000. So you put the 800,000 in cash, and if it rents for $1,000 a week, which a lot of my properties are, if it rents for $1,000 a week, now if you look at how much, that's bringing in £4,333 a month. That's more money than what you're getting in interest. Not only that, you're also getting £200,000 worth of equity that's built into the property. So if property prices dive, you've already won there, right? You make money when you buy, not when you sell. And then I say to you, you know what, Dan, I've got a whole team here in London. Let me do all the rentals. Let me do all the sourcing. You just sit back and do nothing and collect the money. And I use that as an example, but that's one thing that people can do immediately. Because one thing I learned was this: when you find the deal, the money will find you.
I second that 100%. And, the 3 points you just made, the 3 types, you have one person who is time rich, tons of time, tons of freedom. Second, you've got cash rich, no time. Third is knowledge rich. Our job is to strategically align with the folks who add value to each other and simply put those people together, put the puzzles together. So go get after it, right? They're out there. You got to create those relationships, get out, network, figure out where you are on that and what are you looking for. And when you go to events, if you're in real estate or you're trying to build your business, get clear on this information. This is something that I've never heard before, and it's very simple stuff. 3 types of people to be strategically aligned with. So I appreciate you sharing that. When we looked you up, it looks like you achieved millionaire status by age 27, pretty dang young, through real estate. What were some of the key strategies or decisions that accelerated your wealth to achieve that goal at that young of an age?
I'm not a real interesting person. I mean, I tend to do things that are boring that work, right? And I think too many people, Dan, in today's world, they try to do fancy things. They try and overcomplicate the process. I think that's the downfall. It's like this new shiny object syndrome. So for me, I'm like, people say to me, John, you make a lot of money, but you're quite boring the way you do it. Well, in a sense, I kind of agree. It's like, okay, I buy a property below market value and I rent it out, and then I make money every single month. When the prices go up, I refinance it and I pull some money out and I buy another one, right? And then when I run out of cash, I then go to my network where I'm able to raise money and partner with people, and then we buy property as business partners. So it's always that case. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. If each property buying is between 1 and 2 million and you've got 50 million, that's going to run out pretty quick. This is one thing I learned, is that you've always got to be raising money or finding partners. And I think the easiest thing people can do right now is in your local area, start a property networking event. So what happens is you start attracting people. For example, if I do a property event in London, I'll start attracting property investors in London. I'll attract lawyers, accountants, brokers, developers. I'll attract all the people who are looking to invest. And now you create that strategic alliance and you become the go-to person as a positioning tool to say, hey, you know what? And I learned this from a good friend of mine, just one. He started this big network in Berkshire, 250 people. He's now since become a property millionaire. And I said, how have you managed to buy all these property deals? He said, John, I buy with all the people who are now our strategic alliance partners. So I just thought, wow, that's an incredible way to do it. Again, it's a bit boring, but it works. Why reinvent the wheel? Just do things and double down on what works and keep doing it until it stops working and then you do something else.
Gosh, so simple, you guys. I really appreciate the transparency and clarity in what you're doing. And I love that you're talking about how you're always raising capital, you're buying deals, you're cash flowing those deals. As the values go up, as the markets change, you refi, pull the equity, put it back into future deals. And when you're out of cash, you're going to your investors. And your investors are like, well, he's been buying these deals. He's got the track record. He's got the reputation of being a real estate investor. I trust this guy. I've got idle cash. I got to find a place to put it. One thing you said is you would start a networking event, a local networking event. Can you give any action steps, like specific action steps about what you do or how you went about doing that in order to have a networking event to attract people like that?
Yeah, so many years ago, I started on a platform called YouTube, right? And I put videos up there and I was telling people how to negotiate deals. And sometimes in the past, I would go through one of my calls and basically go through my entire call and tell people how I was able to negotiate, because people don't believe it. Like, I used to run a lot of events where people would come and would make live phone calls, and on the phone they'd see me negotiate 10, 20, 30% off a property. They couldn't believe it. Like, someone just agreed to sell you the property £200,000 to £300,000 off the property price, right? It's because everyone's different. They have a different motivation. And so for me, I always want to focus on what is it that people want and how can you give it to them? Because it's all about negotiation. It's about the terms in which you give. Like, you might say to me, hey, John, my property's worth $1 million and I offer you 700,000. You say no. I say, what do you want? You say 800,000. I say, great. I'll give you 800,000, but on my terms. What do you mean? So I'll give you 700,000 now, and I'll give you 100,000 in 5 years. So you can always negotiate the terms, and this is the important thing. And a lot of people don't realize you can do this in real estate, because a lot of people, they go to a real estate agent and negotiate on the seller's behalf, but actually you need to go directly to the seller, and sometimes with the help of your agent friends, your real estate agent friends, to be able to get access to the deal flow. And that's the most important part. for me, I want to keep things super simple and just keep doing things that work until they don't.
How do you get access to the deal flow? What is the way you're the guy when a deal's on the market and it's a deal that's going to bring value? You, like you said, you make money on the buy. How are you the one that they come to? How did you get to that position? Because I'm assuming at one time you weren't, and now you are.
Well, that's the thing. Awareness times attention equals income. The more people that know who you are, the more likely people are going to buy something from you or sell something to you. So again, I talked about YouTube a second ago. People would see my scripts on how to negotiate, and out of the blue, people would call me and say, "Hey, John, I just heard that little call that you did with that I love the way you negotiated that deal. The person said no, and then at the end of the call, they said yes." And they would say to me, "John, can you help me negotiate deals?" So many years ago, I created this service called Deal Closer Service, where people would send deals to me. I'd call them up, and for every deal that I would close, I would actually take 1% of the purchase price. And then I started getting a little bit more smarter with that. I said, don't pay me the fee, give me a piece of equity, right? And then people would say, actually, no, I don't want to give you equity. I'll just pay you more money. So then I started to make quite a lot of money just from doing a lot of negotiation. And then I realized that, wow, instead of me having to go and knock on other people's doors, everyone was knocking on my door. And I realized when I asked people, I just want to know, how did you find me? Like, how did you find my number and email? Oh yeah, John, I saw your YouTube video. And I thought, wow, maybe social media has a powerful thing. And then I'd looked how many views I got, like 100 views, 1,000 views. And then within a 5-year period, my followers went from like 0 to like 1 million followers. I put a video out that got like 65,000 people shared the video. It was incredible. And then I gained 1 million followers. And then obviously years on, I have now 6 million people that follow me on social media. So what I realized is every time I put a video out talking about something, I'll say, hey, by the way, if anyone's got a property to sell in London, contact me. And then all these bridging companies would contact me. These brokers would contact me. These other investors would start offloading property deals. I'm like, wow. So it's what I call the MMM, Dan. Your message, your market match. And where's your biggest megaphone is social media.
Yeah, you guys check John out on social media. I mean, Instagram alone, 2.4 million followers. So whatever you're doing, John, there, and some of the stuff you're describing here is clearly working. You said message, market, match. Maybe you could touch a little bit more on the folks that are wanting to build their YouTube or social media platforms out a little more. What does that mean?
Well, your message is, who do you want to attract? Who's your customer avatar? So, for example, if you look at all my content now, I don't really talk about property. I talk about businesses. So I'm using the same strategy to buy and invest into businesses. It's the same strategy because right now there's lots of undervalued businesses just starting off, and they come to me and say, John, I've got this great business, a startup. We've been going for 2 years. We're making this much money. Can you coach and advise our company? I said, sure. Give me some equity of the company and I'll advise it to double the income or to grow it. So that's why you see a lot of my content is talking about business, talking about tech, talking about AI. So because I want to attract those companies. So I've invested in quite a few big companies that have, and a lot of these are also now AI companies now, because AI is currently the trending hot topic, and it may not be in a little while. But the point is that when you put your message out there, talk to the person who you want to attract. And here's the thing. I don't care if my video gets 1 like or 1 comment. What I care about is how many people have seen it. So if you go to my Instagram and you look at my reels, you'll see how many people have seen the videos. Like sometimes it's hundreds of people, sometimes it's thousands of people, sometimes it's millions of people. So social media has changed in such a way that it's not about how many followers you have now. It's about how many impressions based on the topic that you're putting out is. So social media has something called delayed explosion. You can put something out and get 10 views in a week, and in 6 months, it might have 1 million views. And the great thing about social media is when you put it on social media, and it's a formula called Fly GTI, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, X, Clubhouse, and all these different platforms, you just put your content out there. And that's why I love doing podcasts. For me, I always want to do a lot of podcasts because you have an audience, I have an audience, and maybe you'll send this content to our team. Our team will edit it, we'll put it on social media as well. And it starts to generate views and content. And from there, I guarantee someone listening to this interview right now will contact me with a property deal in London.
I love it. This is such good content, you guys. I'm over here taking notes. You know, this is really good stuff of someone who's getting the results successfully, and you can do it too. It doesn't sound like it's that difficult. I mean, John, can anybody participate and do what you're doing, or do you have to have some sort of special knack? What would be your biggest reason that you became John Lee?
I mean, I'm still learning, many years ago when I was a kid, when I was a child, I used to have a stutter. So I always wanted to get over that. And if you look at my first video compared to where it is now, it's just, you got to put the reps in. Like you've got to lift those weights. No one's going to lift it for you. So you have to put the hours in. But I recommend people start with WAV strategy, WAV. Start with W, written content. So you can go to ChatGPT now, say, write an article on why I need to invest in property in New York. Bang. You got your article, post it, people read it, they contact you with New York property. Then you can do audio. So for example, I have 4 phones here, right? I go live on social media platforms. So for example, I go live on Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse, Wisdom, Facebook, and I just basically go live, and then just talk into it. And I'm doing audio. So now I get lots of people that listen to me, and now that can be repackaged. So now a lot of people are listening to me. So if you don't want to show your face, do that, right? And then of course, the last one is video. So video is great because now there's a really good AI software called rask.ai. And I wish I could share some videos with you and show you, but I can translate my voice into any language, Japanese, German, Italian. And so now I can go into Italian market, German market, the Singaporean market, Malaysia, China. We can take this interview and just put it into rask.ai, say transcribe into Japanese. And you and I will be talking Japanese.
Unbelievable. That's rask.ai. How do you spell it?
rask.ai.
rask.ai. And you can translate anything you're saying to any language. So if I wanted to trick my wife and I'm over here talking and I want to say, hey, I've been studying Italian and I'm in the other room and I say a couple sentences in Italian and I replay it on my computer, she's not going to know if I actually spoke it or did not speak it.
Well, exactly, because what happens is rask.ai, and this is something that's happening in the AI world, which is why I love investing in it, because it allows scalability. So first of all, it'll do text to text. So it will listen to your speech to text, it'll translate it into English, and then it will do text to text translation. So English text translated into Italian, and then it will do text to speech, and it'll basically clone your voice, the way you're speaking, your depth. You've got quite a deep voice, clear, it's clean, and it will basically speak Italian in your voice.
So as we're kind of getting closer to winding this down, given your vast experience and just knowledge you've accumulated over the years, if you had to start all over today, what would you do differently looking back?
Okay, if I was to start in real estate again with no money and I just started from the very scratch, the first thing I would do is I would source deals for people, not for a fee, but for equity. That's number one. For the business side, instead of spending one company, I took a company public in 2019, which we won't talk about. If I could do that again from scratch, I would not do it with one company. The mistake I made was spending too long on one company when I should have spent 15, 20 years on 100 companies and taken all of them public at the same time. So that's actually what I should have done. But obviously, you live and learn. Experience has lessons that it teaches you. It's not good to just trade time for money. Actually, what you want to do, I've got this strategy called the 30-30-30-10 strategy. People ask me all the time, John, I've got all this money, what should I do? I can't give you financial advice, but here's what I would do. I would take 30% of that, put into my own business, 30% of it put into other people's businesses, the other 30% put it into assets that grow, and 10% I put into moonshot, right? Because you never know what's going to go to the moon. The issue people make is to take all their money, to put it into one basket, it fails, and their business is gone. They've lost all the money.
Yeah. So you said take 30% your own business, 30% into other businesses, and then 30%. What was your third bucket of 30%?
Into assets. So digital assets, physical assets, like real estate. You have a site where people can go and buy properties, right? Well, it's a website where people can go and buy and sell properties. Well, they sell physical properties, but now you have digital assets. So if you go to flipper.com, you can actually build an online site, put it on Flipper, and then sell it for like $100,000, $200,000. You make more from that than you do from real estate. People should be doing both.
Awesome. So what's next for you, John? What are you working on now, or what are you excited about moving forward for the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I have an interesting book idea that I'm looking to write. I'm still kind of getting used to all these different nuances and what works, what doesn't work. But over the last 20 years, there's certain things that you can do, the small shifts that you can make that will leverage and give you a 10x return, right? So I'm kind of curate all those different ideas and my experiences. Now my thing is, I fly around the world. We have a lot of people out there that have read my books, they see my content, they'll have me do a keynote speech, and I'll do a talk. And the purpose of me doing the talk is to really impact the next generation, in the hope that some people will take this knowledge, they'll learn this, they'll make a lot of money from it, and they'll come to me and say, hey, John, I listened to what you said. I have so many of these case studies down. The people who've just watched my videos on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, like all these different platforms, and they've made millions of dollars. Now they come to me and say, John, I want to invest with you now. Or John, I've got this company. I'd love you to be on the board of directors. Or, hey, I want you to be an advisor. So for me, I'm collecting these little, companies, and now I'm getting to make massive impact. Here's the thing. You want to make more money, you must first help other people make more money, right? That's the only way you get to make money. So my mission now is to empower a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners to really double the business, 10x the business to the next level. And in return, my reward is I get a little piece of that.
Yeah, I can tell in your voice too, John. You've got this little childhood excitement about what you do. And I think that you got to tune into that, ladies and gentlemen. Find something that excites you. You're super excited about what you're doing. And I can tell, John, when you talk about what you're doing, there's a lot of enthusiasm behind it. So we just want to, thank you so much for coming on the show. And if our listeners want to learn more about you or get a hold of you, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, they can go to my main website, johnlee.com. We've got a lot of free training there as well. Some of my keynote speeches, in fact, the 30-30-30-10 strategy, I have a whole keynote that I did in Dubai on that. And if people would love to learn more, I do run a lot of events. And, for me, when I got into my first mentoring, I had to sell my car and pay someone £10,000 for them to teach me for 2 days. I know a lot of people don't have that. So one of my missions to give back now is to run a lot of events and to sponsor people. So I don't want money to stop them from learning this stuff. We run a lot of events and we also make it free for the community so they can learn this stuff. If they want to check that out, they can head over to johnleeevent.com, and they can see my next up and coming event and they get to attend for free.
That's awesome, John. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this week's episode. If you gained value from this show, we ask that you share it with your friends and leave us a rating and review. And thanks again. We'll see you next week for another episode of Keeping It Real Estate.
Appreciate it.